Well, hello there. Tom Green coming back at you with some Fireworks CS5 goodness, and today's goodness involves batch processing. This is one of my absolute favorite features of the application. It just makes life so much easier. And one of the reasons I like it is it's a lot faster than using Photoshop. Now, Conan sort of briefly went through this with you, but I want to take this one step further. I want to show you a couple of features that are built into Fireworks and I think are pretty cool. One of them is this batch processing. The other is commands, and then we're going to use a command to actually take the files that we shrink down and throw them into a slide-based slideshow that we can do on the web. It's a template, so don't bust my chops, but you can do it very quickly, and I just love it. So let's get started. So I've got a folder full of 50 images here, and it's a common problem. I want to get those images up to our friends at Flickr. I have a Flickr site, but because I'm using a commercial SLR, these things are big. So if I flop over to Fireworks, you'll see that this photo here is 3200 by 4320. That's a little big, and that's going to take a very long time to upload to Flickr. In fact, Flickr will just resize it down. So I want to get these things down to a more manageable size, like around 800, 600. Now, I can do a number of things here. I can, for instance, go through each one, and if you want to do this, you can. Transform, numeric transform. I'm one of these guys that loves doing it by the numbers. And I want to scale it down to 20%. And you can see that I get 800 by 600. Okay, so there's a really good way of getting numbers for you if you want. Okay, I'm going to cancel that. The other thing I can do is I can just simply click on the photograph or the image on the canvas here and go to Modify Canvas, Image Size, and I can reduce it down in size right out of here. So if I want to take it down to 800 by 600, so that'd be, we'll go with 600 wide. Notice that's what it'll do. It'll just crop it right down to 800 by 600. And it will reduce it down in proportions. So it's kind of neat. You can do that by the numbers. Cancel that. Other things that you can do with these things, there's a whole menu here called commands, and these are fabulous. These are scripts. You Photoshop guys are very familiar with these. These are little scripts that you can write. But the Fireworks guys have taken this to the nth degree, and they've actually written scripts, and they trade them, and they do all kinds of stuff. These are JavaScripts, actually. And some of them come packaged with the app. Some of them are third-party. The Orange Commands by David Hogue and the crew are just some of the best out there. And you can use these to do all kinds of stuff. For instance, you can add arrowheads. If I want, I can throw a picture frame around this photograph. It goes in, grabs a pattern from inside the application, and if I click OK, it will throw the picture frame around it. All right, let's get started. And there's the frame right there. See it? A little Berber rug right there. Okay, I'm going to revert this. Matter of fact, I'm just going to close this image, not save the changes. Don't save. So I want to take these 50 images and I want to get them off to our friends at Flickr, or I want to use them in a slideshow on the web. Who cares? They've got to be resized. So this is where batch comes in. So I just open up Fireworks, batch process, and you navigate to the folder where the files are located. Now, one of the things I always do, and even though Conan says it does it for you automatically, I don't trust software. I never have, never will. As I tell my students, never trust anything, especially yourself, especially when it's automated. So what I'm going to do is I always create a little folder called upload or files or whatever. Anyway, I'm going to select the files that I'm going to use. Notice there's an MP4 file in there. That's not going to shrink down. So I'm going to select all the files, and then all I have to do is just select add, and then next. And next sort of opens up my batch process options. Now I can export these out as JPEGs. I can scale them. I can replace them with other images. I can rename them and give them names that mean something. Now remember, this is a sequence, so you got to be very careful with this thing. And look at this. There are the commands. So all the commands that are in the commands menu of Fireworks can be applied to an entire folder of images, which I think is kind of cool. So let's scale these. We're going to scale them. So we're going to add that. There's scale. And I'm going to scale it to percentage. I'm going to scale it to 20%. Now, I don't like using any of the other options here. Scale to size, that introduces distortions. Scale to fit area may introduce distortions and crops. Scale to percentage, you know it's going to do it by the numbers and it will not introduce distortions. So I'm just going to take these all down to 20%. And I'm going to rename them. I'm going to add that, and it's going to ask me to do what. And I'm going to add a suffix to it. Now I'm going to add a prefix. I'm going to add the prefix tuts. There we go. I don't want to do that over uppercase. There we go. And now that I've got everything done, I click the next button. And this is where it gets really kind of cool. I can save this as the original file, and what it will do is it'll do exactly what Brandon says, create a folder. But once again, I don't trust it. I never put anything where I'm going to have originals. So I always create a custom location. And even if I don't have a folder made, this will allow me to do it. So I'm going to go over to the desktop. I'm going to go to my folder where I've got these, which is part 6. And I'm going to indicate the folder. Now notice you can actually add a folder there, so that's a good thing. And you can also save this as a script and just reuse it, and it'll actually get added to your menu. So you can just keep doing these things. This is kind of neat. And now I'm going to tell it to batch process. I'm going to let this run. I'm not going to stop. You can see it's working fairly quickly here, and it's only been about a minute and a half. So this is one super fast little utility built into this application. Here we go, finished. And it's done. Click OK. And I'm returned to Fireworks. Now I'm going to do something really cool here. Now notice I got nothing open. I'm going to go to the commands, and I'm going to go creative, create slideshow. This was done by a former Fireworks guru, Alan Musselman. He's still kicking around the community. Super guy, and it was picked up and added to the application. Alan at one time actually was working with Fireworks and Adobe. It was a pretty cool relationship, and then they sort of went their separate ways, which was not unexpected. Okay, create slideshow, and this create slideshow dialog box opens up. And what you do is you work with albums. So I'm going to look for an album. So I'm going to add one. And I'm going to look for files to process. I go to Custom, and I'm not going in there. I'm going into my Upload folder. And there's the files that I'm processing. And notice there's that little Toots Plus that I added to it. I'm going to click Open. Click OK. And that's the folder name. And then if I click on it, you can see there are all the files that came in. And one of the things that I can do here is I can add little captions to it. So this is Cafe Campus. Of course, Camus I don't think was over there. Cafe Campus, there we go. And you can add captions to these things. You can reorder the slides. You can move them up, move them down. For instance, if I want the Cafe Camp, if I want this one here to actually be the first one, I just click this up thing and up it goes, you see. All right, so that's identify the folder where the files are, identify the files. Now what I'm going to do is give the album some properties, and I'm just going to call the album, I don't know, how about Design Toots? We'll call it Web Design. And we got a couple of players in here. You can see that there's Flash in here, plus at the back there's a player here that is basically almost like a sprite player, or a spry player, I should say. My favorite is Black Flash. I really like this one, so I'm going to choose that. And I'm going to auto start the slideshow, and yeah, I can allow clicking. I'm not going to allow clicking of images. And then I click the album properties, and I can actually have thumbnails and backgrounds for this thing. I'm not going to use that. Not going to touch captions or filters. Slideshow properties are important. How big an interval between slides do I want? Let's have 2 seconds. Use a transition between slides. Sure, why not? Let's use a blur. And we'll have the blur last over 1 second. And the first image that I want is image number 1. Yeah. And yeah, I want them to appear in order. That's good. And now for the export options. It's going to export the images, generate the XML, and we're going to use the create slideshow XML format. And I want to save this to a different folder. So I'm going to save this to the upload folder. I'm just going to call this one slideshow. And I'm going to click create, click choose, so it's going to go to there. Those are the thumbnail size, and I'm going to enlarge the images to fit. And you see that the images are 720 by 429, so I'm going to make them a little bit larger, 800, and we'll say 600. And then I just click create. That flashing you see it's actually grabbing the images and throwing them into the folder and putting everything together in the slideshow. And then it's done. And now what I can do is I can preview the slideshow in a browser. So if I select that and click done, it's going to launch my browser. And there's my slideshow. Is that cool or what? And I did not even open the application. See, there's that caption I threw in. And I did not even open the application, didn't do a thing. Now the files that are located, that are in this thing are actually located in the folder. And I just got to find it. Okay, I'm going to cancel this now. And I'm going to minimize this. And if I go into the upload, there's the slideshow. There's the index HTML. There's the Swift. There are the scripts. Okay, all the scripts, the AC content. There's an XML file, and there's the upload file with all the images in it, plus the thumbs. That's what was being created. And you can just take this whole folder and upload it as you see fit. So there you go. There's a really cool way of using Fireworks, and you don't even have to use Fireworks. You just open it up, do a batch process, get them done, you can either upload them to Flickr, or if you want, go into commands, use the create slideshow command, and just make your own personal little slideshow. In the next exercise, or the next installment of this series, I think what I'm going to do is sort of dig into creating an Air app. I'll see you there.